Welcome. Today, we're going to take a quick 5-minute journey through the heart of Canada. We're using the country's official citizenship guide, Discover Canada, as our roadmap to really understand what makes this nation tick.
You know, a document like this represents so much more than just a way to travel. It's a symbol of belonging, of rights, and of responsibilities too. So it really makes you wonder, what does it actually mean to be Canadian? Let's dive in.
To really get Canada, you've got to start with its foundation, the core values that shape the whole society. This is the bedrock that everything else is built on.
What's really interesting is that these aren't some brand new ideas. They're part of a long tradition of what's called ordered liberty that you can trace all the way back to the Magna Carta in 1215. So these core Canadian freedoms, they have some seriously deep historical roots.
And then, in 1982, Canada took this huge step when it brought its constitution home from Britain. It locked these rights and freedoms directly into that new constitution with something called the Charter. And just like that, they became the supreme law of the land, guaranteed for every single citizen.
Okay, so with that foundation in place, let's take a look at the blueprint. How did a bunch of separate colonies become the nation we know today? We're going to trace that journey through some really key moments in time.
You can really see the nation building happening right here. It starts with a promise, a railway to literally stitch the country together from one coast to the other. Its character is forged in the fire of war at Vimy Ridge. It evolves as people like Agnes MacPhail break down barriers in politics, and then it comes full circle with the charter we just talked about. Every one of these is a crucial piece of the puzzle.
The Battle of Vimy Ridge in 1917. Wow, what a defining moment. It was a horrific, costly victory, no doubt about it. But it was also the very first time all 4 Canadian divisions fought together as one. That shared sacrifice created a sense of national identity and pride that you could feel all across the country. And out of that same war came these words. Words that are just unforgettable. Written by a Canadian doctor, John McCrae. This poem, In Flanders Fields, gave the entire world the poppy as a symbol for remembrance. It's such a deep part of Canada's cultural memory, recited every November 11th.
So, we've looked at the values and the history. Now let's check out the framework that holds it all together. How does Canada actually run? How are its laws made? Let's demystify the machinery of government a little bit.
Now this might look a little complicated, but it's a very clear and structured path that an idea has to travel to become law. From the moment it's introduced, it's debated, studied, amended, and voted on. The key takeaway here is that it's not a quick process, it's a deliberate one. It makes sure every bill is thoroughly checked out before it gets that final stamp of approval, called royal assent, and becomes law. After an election, one of 2 things usually happens. If one party wins at least half of the seats, they form a majority government. That gives them a lot of power to pass their laws. But if they win the most seats but it's still less than half, that's a minority government. And that means they have to cooperate with the other parties to stay in power and get anything done. All right, so we've got the rights and the rules, but a country, well, it's really about its people. So let's turn our attention to the citizens themselves and a core Canadian value, the whole idea of multiculturalism. This quote from a former Governor General, John Butchin, just nails the concept. He wasn't talking about a melting pot where everyone becomes the same. It was more like a mosaic. The idea is that people should hold on to their heritage, and by doing that, they actually enrich the entire nation. That's unity in diversity right there. Of course, being a part of that mosaic isn't a one-way street. It comes with responsibilities. Beyond just obeying the law, citizenship really means actively participating, serving on a jury to help ensure justice, voting to help shape the future, and volunteering to make your community stronger. It's all about contributing to the whole thing. For our final stop, let's explore some of the shared experiences and symbols that help weave this really diverse country together, everything from the roar of a crowd to the quiet beauty of the landscape. You just can't talk about Canadian identity without talking about sports. Hockey, which was developed in Canada back in the 1800s, is way more than just a game, it's a national passion. But Canada's official summer sport is lacrosse, an ancient game that was first played by Aboriginal peoples. So, what about the beaver? Well, this industrious little animal's role goes way back. It was central to the fur trade and the Hudson's Bay Company, and this symbol of hard work eventually became an official emblem of sovereignty. And yep, you can still find it on the 5-cent coin today. Of course, a huge part of Canada's identity is its incredible, breathtaking geography. I mean, you've got the towering, majestic Rocky Mountains out in the west. And then you can go all the way to the other side of the country, to the rugged, colorful coastline of the Atlantic provinces in the east. The scenery changes so dramatically, but all of it is just unmistakably Canadian.
And we absolutely cannot forget the vast north, where the sky itself puts on one of the greatest shows on Earth. The northern lights are this powerful reminder of the wild, untamed nature that's right at the heart of the country.
So that brings us right back to our big question. We've seen the shared values, the common history, and all the symbols. But in a country that's defined by these huge distances and just incredible diversity, the question's still there. How does it all hold together? How does it create a unified whole? It's something to think about.